Hello everyone, FPL Raptor here and welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. It is finally the week of Game Week 1. FPL is right around the corner and in today's video I'm going to be showing you a 100% rated team and I'd love to know if you agree with it or not. If you did enjoy today's video, please do smash that like button and if you're new around here, make sure to subscribe as well. But without further ado, let's jump into it. So I actually did this video last year and I really enjoyed it because there is a lot of negative discourse and especially the comments around AI, the use of it in FPL. Is it cheating? What does it bring to the game? Does it make it worse? And I actually enjoyed just sitting there for a few minutes and just talking openly about it because obviously if you've been watching my channel, I talk about being able to get your team rating for free in the comments a lot. I am a partner with Fantasy Football Hub. They're one of the major supporters of this channel. And some people get peeved off by it. They don't like it. It's like, oh, can you stop talking about that AI ratings are in the game? So if you don't care about my opinions around AI, just skip to the next section. It'll be timestamped down below where I actually go through the team. But I did just want to spend a few minutes openly talking about the role of it. And I think the key thing is, if you remove the word AI, all this is a website that's just giving you a rating out of 100, right? I think people are getting really worked up about it for a couple of reasons. Number one, it might feel like it's quite persistent and constant in pre-season, which I fully appreciate, and I apologize for that. But also, I think it's the word AI. People just assume that robots are taking over the world, and also that this team, if you follow it, will get you top 1k, and that you can't beat people in your mini league if they follow the AI. That is not true. AI is just an algorithm based on data that spits out a team, but there are multiple things that AI or algorithms or models don't do particularly well still. They don't have an eye test, and some people don't like the eye test, but the eye test can tell you a hell of a lot that AI won't. Where is the player playing on the pitch? Are they getting into good positions? Sometimes that isn't picked up by a model or by data. The other thing that the AI will not do particularly well often is minutes projections. There are some players that aren't in this team, even though I think they're fantastic, because currently their projected minutes are very low. So AI isn't this perfect solution that if someone in your mini league followed it, they would comfortably every time get top 1k. Yes, I think it might improve the way they play, but I take that as a challenge. If lots of people starting only following models and not picking things themselves and just following that, that's a challenge of, right, well, now that's what I've got to beat. And that's the way the game is developing. I would argue that there's not much difference between following Fantasy Football Hub's 100% rated team or just copying a content creator, which I know a lot of people do. You probably don't want to copy me because I'm not necessarily the best FPL manager. I think I'm all right, but I don't see as any different. Or logging onto Twitter and copying someone that you follow on Twitter. This will happen anyway. And some people will copy content creators. Some people copy models. If you don't want to play that way, don't. And I urge you not to. Copying is so boring, but of course there will be people that do it. I say take it as a challenge. And I am very sorry for those of you that don't like talking about AI and you don't enjoy the AI team ratings. And I fully appreciate, like I said, it's been quite persistent in pre-season, but people enjoy it. I love, from a consumer perspective, sense checking myself against AI. So what I view this as is another tool to my arsenal. I have various ways that I make decisions. I test. I watch content creators. I speak to fans. I go on Twitter. I look at underlying data. And I also use the team rating feature. And what I then do is collect all of that together and I have my own opinion based on that. And that's the way I urge you to play the game. But I wanted to have this open chat because my comments section gets littered when I talk about AI as, ooh, boo, team ratings, get rid of AI. And I understand and appreciate that. But when the whole video is based on an AI team, I think you deserve the honesty from me and a bit of a chat around the role of AI. So it's not going anywhere. Team ratings will only increase and the accuracy of models will continue to increase. So maybe in the long term, we might be in for an issue. But right now, as of now, I don't think there are any models or AI systems that are unbeatable. Yes, it's going to make it trickier, but I say take it as a challenge. So what is that? That's only a few minutes. I didn't spend too long ranting about it, but I'm not saying this is perfect. I'm not saying that you should rely on this, but I will continue to use every tool that I have available to me to try and get me the best possible rank. And I really enjoy doing this. And if after all of that, you're sort of semi-convinced, this is the worst plug segue ever, there is a link down below in the description to get a free team rating out of 100. And also on top of that, there is a link in the description to get 50% off at Fantasy Football Hub. As I say, Hub are one of the biggest partners of my channel. They've supported me for years now. And so I appreciate them very much. And obviously it supports me if you do sign up and get 50% off. So let's take a look at the team after all that. Let me know if you disagree down below, by the way. As long as you're polite about it, I've got no issue with it. It's the really aggressive, hateful comments that I don't have time for. So let me know down below what you think. In goal, they've actually got a very expensive goalkeeper pairing of Pickford and Sells. And the reason for this is if you think about models and algorithms, what they're trying to do is optimize points in any single game. game week, I should say. So a keeper doesn't have a good fixture every week. So automatically, often models will prefer rotating keepers because on paper, playing a keeper with a better fixture will get you more points. So here they've got Pickford and Sells. They don't rotate perfectly, but they do rotate pretty well. And also they are playing for two very good defenses as well. I wouldn't personally go for rotating goalkeepers. I think there's too much money invested there, especially not a 5 and a 4.5. If you're going to rotate, I'd go for two 4.5s. I'd almost be tempted to just drop Pickford and go for Sells instead. But obviously, like I said, if you're trying to optimize points, you definitely go for two rotating goalkeepers. And I should just say that this team is weighted across the first 5 game weeks. So this team is supposedly the best team from game week 1 to 5. It doesn't look beyond that at the moment. So those are the goalkeepers. And then in defense, it's actually a lot more expensive than I thought, but then very weak on the bench. But then when I consider it, if you're going for 3 premium defenders, do you need a 4.5 on the bench? Probably not. So they've got 3 6 millions. Gabriel, Gvardiol, and Robertson. I'll start with Gvardiol because he's like one of the most popular defenders. He's in pretty much everyone's team. I did a template team video on Friday and he was in like 60% plus. I think he's fantastic. He's going to probably continue to play at left back for Manchester City, getting forward, great data. He's a player that I would want to have in my team probably, and I think he's arguably the best 6 million asset. I don't need to keep talking about the same players over and over again, but there are 2 new additions here. The first is Gabriel. Now, Calafiori in Arsenal's game against Leverkusen wasn't with the squad because he's still taking time to acclimatise, was the words that was used. And apparently he's not fully there yet, ready to be integrated into the squad. So even if he's in the squad for game week 1, game week 2, I don't think he's going to start straight away. And even if he does, there are rumours going around that he's actually going to rotate with Zinchenko in that left-back role and maybe with Timber, although Timber's been playing more at right centre-back in pre-season. So maybe Timber is Saliba's backup. But I think Gabriel looks pretty nailed on at the moment, honestly. And if that's the case, he's probably the best Arsenal defender. We spoke about that last season, that of all the Arsenal defenders, I probably want Gabriel the most. So listen, I think he's a really decent pick at 6 million. And I like the fact that this draft is covering the Arsenal defence. And then Andy Robertson. I'm still not sure how to feel because he's $1 million cheaper than Trent. There's a good chance he'll take some set pieces, but we still don't know what role that left back will play in slot system. It could be that he plays a more traditional left back role. It could be that he's the one of the two to bomb on and maybe be wide on the wing and getting in crosses and maybe Trent invert slightly. But the other possibility is that Trent is the attacking fullback and Robertson drops more into like a left centre-back role. I've got issues for 2 reasons with that. Firstly, if he's playing left centre-back, he's not going to get the open play attacking threat. But also, if he is playing more as a left centre-back, surely Joe Gomez is the better player to play there. He's brilliant with the ball at his feet, Joe Gomez. He can play left centre-back or left back. And he's probably arguably slightly better defensively, especially now that I've seen a bit of a decline in Robertson in recent years. So listen, I think Robertson's great. And if he starts, he could be worth the saving over Trent. I would just wonder, like, if you dropped Pickford to a 4, you could immediately do Robertson to Trent, and I'd probably prefer that setup. But the AI likes him, and who am I to criticise? So I think it's okay. Then on the bench, you've got Barco and Fass, 2 4 millions. We know why Barco could be a fantastic option, and I think Fass or Harwood Bellis are probably the 2 second best £4 million defenders, maybe along with Greaves as well. So there we go. It's a pretty strong defence, quite a bit of money invested. Let's now move on to the midfield. So moving on to the midfield, and it's actually a midfield 5, but I have checked the AI. Obviously AI, or models, whatever you want to call it. We'll call it AI in this video, but it doesn't have to be called AI. Basically, Fantasy Football Hub will regularly update their points projections. And so this midfield 4 has mostly stayed the same, but that final spot, which is currently Brereton Diaz, which we'll discuss in a second, that does change quite a lot. So by the time you're watching this, it might be that Hudson-Odoi is in there, or it's a 3-4-3 instead with, say, João Pedro or something like that. So don't be surprised if by the time you check it as a slight change. But 4 of these midfielders have been in the AI best team for a little while now, which is Eze, Palmer, Salah, and Saka. All 4 of them on penalties, all 4 of them nailed, and all 4 of them talismanic for their teams. And again, when you're thinking about trying to get the most points every week, minutes, penalties involved in a large quantity of their team's goals, it's the perfect storm for them. And actually, all 4 of them have okay fixtures as well, especially Palmer and Salah. Eze, I love Eze as an option, but he's in so many teams. Again, the template team that I showed you on Friday, which is a really good video, I think, in my opinion. Go watch that after this one if you want, where I looked at over 500 of your FPL teams. Eze was the most highly owned midfielder at 76%. So Eze's in a lot of teams. Then it was Salah at 74, then Nkunku at 69. So Eze's the most highly owned midfielder in engaged managers, which I find quite surprising, but I do still believe at 7 million he's great value, and he does have most of what you would want from a player. And spoiler alert, and you can probably tell by the pricing, there's no Haaland in this team, which we'll discuss when we move on to the forwards, but Salah is in there. Salah and Haaland are very similar for projections. Haaland's actually projected to get slightly more points by Fantasy Football Hub, but Salah is 2.5 cheaper. So once you take into account the 2.5 saving, Salah is still considered as a slightly better option. And most models don't tend to like Salah and Haaland together because you have to sacrifice so many of the other players that you're losing out on overall points, which is kind of the way that I viewed it without looking at models. Is I don't like the overall structure as much with the two of them, even though you are getting the two best players in the game. So yeah, Salah and Eze are in there. Palmer feels like the forgotten man. No one seems to have Palmer. Again, referring back to Friday's video, only 13% of people had Palmer in their team. 13. Like, there's no one. Just over 1 in 10 people have Palmer. That's crazy to me because he's so good. However, I don't have him in my team either. I have Nkunku, so I understand why. But listen, you can build a really nice team and get Palmer in, as you can see here. This is a super strong team. So I have no issue with getting in Palmer instead of Nkunku, but I also don't mind saving 4 million and going for the latter. But Palmer's really good. Let me know down below if you've got Palmer in your team. Saka has been in pretty much all of my drafts recently. The only reason I wouldn't go with Saka is if I succumb to the Salah and Haaland draft, which I'm still not sure about at the moment. I'm very tempted, but you can't really get Saka in for me if you do that, because then if you do that, you've got to have a really weak team elsewhere, especially in the defence. So for me, Saka's only available if I don't go for both Salah and Haaland. So I need to weigh that up in my head, which will be done across this final week before game week 1. I feel like I need more time to think about it, but the deadline is fast approaching. But I obviously like Saka. So yeah, those 4 nailed on pens. Fixtures are there. Talismanic, I really like him. By talismanic, we just mean involved in so much of what their teams do. I really do like the midfield. So that final spot could be any 5.5. They've got Brereton Diaz at the moment because his data was actually very, very strong in a poor Sheffield United team. I expect Southampton to be slightly stronger than Sheffield United were. He's already scored in pre-season. And do remember that he has taken penalties in the past. There is a small chance that he takes pens for Southampton. I'm still pretty sure it will be Armstrong, but you never know, I suppose. And so we've got a player on with good data. You're expecting him to be pretty now. Could possibly be on pens. And Southampton's fixtures are actually pretty good to open with. Newcastle, Forest, Brentford, United, Ipswich. I can understand why he is rated quite highly here. I have no real issue with it actually as a pick, but I quite like a few of the other 5.5s. I think in particular, I like Minte, I like Smith Rowe, Andreas. Brereton Diaz probably wouldn't be up there for me at the moment, but I can understand it as a pick. A question I'll throw to you right now, because I think it's one of the major decisions for a lot of people. If you have a 5 million mid in your team right now, who is it and why? Try and justify it a little bit, because I think there are lots of really nice picks. Other options, Elliott, Murphy, Semenyo, like you could go on and on. I think there's probably about 8 to 10 £5.5 million mids that I really like. I think at the moment, my top 3, I don't know if I want to do this actually. I would say Smith Rowe and Andreas will call one of the Fulham mids. I think Hudson-Odoi is still a very decent picker, and maybe Minte, potentially. But I mean, that's not... do you know what? I'm not going to try and do that. There are lots of good 5.5 mids. Let me know down below who you've got. So it's a midfield 5. Let's move on to the 2 attackers and then look at the team overall. So guys, moving on to the attack, and it is fairly template, but of course the glaring omission is Erling Haaland and also no Ollie Watkins as well. So it is a bit cheaper than maybe you would ideally go if you had unlimited budget. But just to discuss the 2 of them, I'm actually not even going to bother discussing Isak too much, but we've spoken about minutes are good, penalties are good. Obviously the fixtures are good. Newcastle are a great attack. I just love everything about Isak, and still I am not sure. I might be tempted to captain Isak in game week 1. But the question then comes, if you're going to captain Isak in game week 1, do you need Salah? Because Salah, the fixture you really want him for is game week 1. And if you're not captaining him, well, could you go for Erling Haaland instead, who you'd like to captain in game week 2? So these are the discussions that need to be had. But yeah, I think Isak is fantastic. And well, I would even probably have had Isak at 9.5. If Isak was pushing 10, I genuinely might still have had him, but that would be a difficult... I think Isak is probably the most underpriced player in the game, and that is apparent by how many people have him. For the 5th time, I'll refer back to Friday's video because I found the data very interesting. He was in over 99% of the 540 teams that I looked at, which is ridiculous to think. Even with all those people that normally like to go different, Isak is seemingly in pretty much every draft. The player that is just shot up in AI, models, algorithms, content creators, Twitter, is Muniz, right, of Fulham, who had a really good breakout season last year. Didn't score maybe... So he started very well, then he maybe tailed off towards the back end of the season, but a decent amount of attacking returns. Fulham have signed Smith Rowe as well. So Smith Rowe, Andreas, Muniz, Iwobi was great last season as well. They've got a really nice attack, actually. Defensively, they might be hit slightly by the loss of Palhinha, but the opening fixtures are certainly there for them. They've got United and Ipswich as their away games. Obviously, pretty decent there. And home games against Leicester, West Ham, and Newcastle. I have absolutely no issue with him as a pick. Last season, he had 0.54 non-penalty expected goal involvement. There is about a 5% chance that he might take a penalty this season. I would say that Andreas is probably the most likely to get them. And so, yeah, I have no issues with him as a pick. Obviously, the likes of Wood and João Pedro and Armstrong are rated very close. So it could be, again, by the time you look at the AI's 100% rated team, that one of Wood, João Pedro, or Armstrong are in there instead. And that might change the team elsewhere. It's very fluid because obviously the algorithms update. But I think all of those are good options. I just think Muniz maybe has the slightly higher ceiling given the fixtures and given how good his data was last season. But don't discount Wood. If Wood continues to start, his data was 0.63 non-penalty expected goal involvement per 90 last season. That's better than Saka, better than Eze, almost as good as Palmer, better than Brereton Diaz, just a little bit lower than Isak. Like, he's right up there, Chris Wood, when he plays. It's just where the Awoniyi comes in, of course. And then, like I said, on the bench, it's just a 4.5 for Woods. So we've got Stewart here, could be Jebison, could be Fraser. Go for whoever you want. The 4.5 for Woods probably aren't going to be playing for you much anyway. So there we go. That is a 100% rated team at the time of me recording this, which is about a day or day and a half before you're actually going to see it, because I'm actually going to be at the Community Shield, courtesy of Manchester United, which is a pretty crazy thing to say. But so I've had to pre-record this slightly. So sorry if anything throughout that video was like this player's moved or been injured and it doesn't make quite as much sense. It's not massively pre-recorded, but it is a little bit before you'll see it. So yeah, that's the team. In terms of where is this lacking, there's not much. I'd say no City attack is a big loss, right? No KDB, Foden, Haaland. Foden doesn't look at the time of me recording like he'll be available for game week 1. KDB and Haaland should be, so maybe that's a potential loss there. There's, outside of that, I mean, no Spurs. I don't know if that's a massive loss having no Spurs, but they've got a really nice opening fixture against Leicester. There's no Porro, there's no Son here. And then maybe having to start a 5.5 and a 6 every week isn't perfect. If this was my team, which obviously it's not, but if it were, I would be looking to maybe remove a bit of money from the keeper. Let's say Pickford down to a 4. That would free up $1 million. I would then either put that into the Robertson spot and go for Trent, or I'd be tempted to upgrade Brereton Diaz to someone like Bailey or Nkunku. And then I think overall that's a much stronger draft at that point. Or maybe upgrade the bench slightly, potentially would be another route that you could do. But it's really nice. I like the fact there are 2 Arsenal in there. I mean, it should be pretty nice, but I think it is as well. Let me know down below what you think of this team. Obviously, let me know down below what you think of, like I said, the role of algorithms, models, AI, whatever you want to call it within FPL. Try and be polite about the discussion, but it's interesting because, like I said, it's not going anywhere. I think it's about how we use it and how we discuss it. Maybe I can do a better job as a content creator to do that. But hopefully today's video you found informative and you liked the discussion element about it, because I think it's a discussion that needs to be had. Because, like I said, it's not going anywhere, but I think it can be a value for us in FPL. So guys, just to finish off the fantasy football promotions for this video, and I do appreciate you if you're still watching. If you've not yet checked out Hub and you're not already a member, and if you are and you've signed up through my link, thank you. You can get 50% off as well as your free team rating down below in the description. For £3.25 per month, you can get access to everything that you can see on this list. It's a brilliant site. I really enjoy using it, and I think it's worth at least giving a go. Maybe have a go with a free version first, get your team rated, and if you like the way it's structured and you like what you can do but you want a little bit more, do consider doing so. It massively supports me, but I, of course, enjoy the site as well. And thank you for watching this little ad section. I do appreciate you very much. So guys, there you have it. A bit of an in-depth discussion around the role of AI models and algorithms within FPL. Like I said, I'd love to know what you think down below in the comment. Hopefully you did enjoy the honesty and the open discussion around it. And also, hopefully you like the look of the team as well. It's good to sense check and think, what do the AI like? And where do I want to differ as well? Because it certainly isn't a perfect team, despite them thinking it's worth 100% rating. Thank you very much for watching today. I do appreciate you. Until next time, bye-bye.